On October 14, 1066, two armies clashed on a small hill in Sussex, forever altering the course of English history. This was Senlac Hill, the site of the Battle of Hastings. Here, King Harold Godwinson of England faced William, Duke of Normandy. Harold arrived at Senlac Hill under immense pressure and exhaustion. Just weeks before, he had secured a decisive victory against a Viking invasion far to the north. His army had then endured a grueling 250-mile forced march south. This single battle would decide England's fate, marking the definitive end of Anglo-Saxon rule. It ushered in a new Norman-dominated kingdom, initiating a profound and lasting transformation of the island nation. The consequences of this day would resonate for centuries. The year 1066 was one of unprecedented peril for England. It began with the death of Edward the Confessor, sparking a succession crisis. Harold Godwinson was crowned king, but his claim was immediately challenged. The first major threat emerged in September 1066 from Harald Hardrada, the formidable king of Norway. Hardrada, often called the last great Viking, invaded northern England with a fleet of 300 ships and an estimated 15,000 warriors. He was supported by Harold's own estranged brother, Tostig Godwinson. King Harold responded with astonishing speed and determination. He force-marched his army 190 miles north in just 4 days, catching the invaders completely by surprise. This incredible feat of logistics and endurance set the stage for a brutal confrontation. The Battle of Stamford Bridge, fought on September 25, 1066, was a crushing victory for Harold. The Vikings were caught off guard, many without their armor, leading to a massacre. Both Harald Hardrada and Tostig were killed, effectively ending the Viking Age in England. However, Harold's triumph was short-lived. Just 3 days after Stamford Bridge, William of Normandy landed his invasion fleet at Pevensey Bay. He had been waiting for favorable winds for weeks, and his timing was devastatingly precise. Harold received news of William's landing while still in the north, celebrating his victory. He was faced with an impossible choice: confront the new threat immediately, or allow William to consolidate his position. Harold chose the former, embarking on another punishing march south with his already weary troops. William, meanwhile, employed a deliberate strategy of terror in Sussex. His forces plundered and burned the countryside, aiming to provoke Harold into a quick, decisive battle. He sought to deny Harold time to gather fresh levies or rest his exhausted army. By October 13, 1066, the two armies converged near Hastings. Harold deployed his forces, estimated at 7,000 to 8,000 men, in a strong defensive position. They formed a formidable shield wall atop Senlac Hill, awaiting the Norman assault. The Battle of Hastings began on the morning of October 14, 1066. William's army, a combined force of Norman, Breton and Flemish knights, archers and infantry, launched their initial attacks. They faced a resolute English defense. The English shield wall, composed primarily of highly trained housecarls armed with devastating two-handed axes, held firm. Norman archers and infantry struggled to make an impression against the tightly packed formation. Wave after wave of attacks broke against the English line. William, a shrewd and adaptable commander, then employed a tactical innovation. His cavalry began to execute feigned retreats, drawing sections of the English shield wall to break formation and pursue them down the hill. This was a dangerous maneuver, but it proved effective. As the English pursued, they became isolated and vulnerable. The Norman cavalry would then turn and cut down the exposed English soldiers. This slow, grinding process gradually began to carve apart Harold's once impenetrable defense. The battle raged for hours, a brutal test of endurance and discipline. Late in the day, King Harold Godwinson himself was struck down near his royal standards. Accounts vary, but the Bayeux Tapestry famously depicts him being hit by an arrow and then cut down by Norman knights. With their king fallen, the English resistance finally collapsed. The death of Harold marked the end of Anglo-Saxon England. A monarchy that had ruled for 6 centuries became extinct on that bloody field. The victory at Hastings opened the way for William to claim the English throne. William's coronation on Christmas Day 1066 did not immediately secure his rule over all of England. Significant resistance persisted, particularly in the north. Many Anglo-Saxon nobles refused to accept the foreign king, proclaiming Edgar the Atheling, a descendant of the old royal line, as their rightful monarch. Danish armies, ever opportunistic, also supported the English resistance. They saw an opportunity to reclaim influence or even territory in England. This alliance posed a serious threat to William's nascent kingdom. The Great Rebellion of 1069 AD saw a major uprising in the north. Northumbrian rebels massacred the Norman garrison at Durham, demonstrating their fierce defiance. Soon after, Danish forces captured York, further escalating the crisis and threatening to unravel William's conquest. William's response was swift, brutal, and utterly ruthless. He unleashed what became known as the Harrying of the North, a systematic campaign of destruction during the winter of 1069-70. This was not merely a military campaign, but an act of state-sponsored terror. Norman armies swept through vast swathes of northern England, burning villages and slaughtering livestock. They deliberately destroyed grain stores and agricultural land, ensuring that anyone who survived the initial onslaught would face starvation. The aim was to eliminate any possibility of future rebellion. The impact was catastrophic. The Domesday Book, compiled years later, records vast areas of Yorkshire and other northern counties as waste. It took generations for the region to recover from this deliberate devastation. The population plummeted and the social fabric was shattered. The Harrying of the North effectively crushed all organized English resistance. It demonstrated, in the most brutal terms, that Norman rule was absolute and that defiance would be met with unimaginable retribution. It taught a chilling lesson. Submission was preferable to Norman revenge. With resistance largely quelled, William embarked on the systematic transformation of England. He implemented the feudal system, a hierarchical structure of land tenure and loyalty. This involved the wholesale redistribution of land, effectively dispossessing the Anglo-Saxon aristocracy. The vast majority of English landowners were replaced by Norman nobles, who swore fealty directly to William. This created a new ruling class, loyal to the king and bound by military service. The old Anglo-Saxon elite was almost entirely eradicated from positions of power. To solidify his control and understand the resources of his new kingdom, William commissioned the Domesday Book in 1086 AD. This meticulous administrative survey recorded every landholding, every tenant, and every resource across England. It was an unprecedented undertaking for its time. The Domesday Book revealed the near-complete replacement of English landowners by Norman families. It provided William with an unparalleled understanding of his kingdom's wealth and manpower, allowing for efficient taxation and military organization. It was a testament to his administrative genius and ruthlessness. William also initiated a massive castle-building program. Over 500 castles, ranging from simple motte and bailey structures to formidable stone fortresses like the White Tower in London, were constructed across England. These castles served multiple purposes. They were military installations, projecting Norman power and deterring rebellion. They also functioned as administrative centers, housing garrisons and local government. These imposing structures physically symbolized the new Norman order and its dominance. The Norman conquest also triggered a profound cultural revolution. French became the language of the elite, the court, and the law, while English continued to be spoken by the common people. This linguistic divide would persist for centuries, shaping the development of the English language. Norman architecture, characterized by its robust and imposing Romanesque style, transformed the English skyline. Cathedrals, abbeys, and castles rose across the land, replacing older Anglo-Saxon structures. Continental legal traditions began to merge with existing Anglo-Saxon customs, creating a new legal framework. England, once an isolated island kingdom, was now firmly integrated into a cross-channel empire. Its destiny became intertwined with the affairs of continental Europe, particularly France. This shift had long-lasting geopolitical consequences. William the Conqueror left an indelible legacy. He forged a transformed kingdom, characterized by a highly efficient central government and a sophisticated military organization. His administrative reforms and the feudal system laid the foundations for the English state for centuries to come. However, this transformation came at a tremendous price. The conquest brought economic devastation, particularly in the north, and cultural suppression. The vibrant Anglo-Saxon political traditions, with their emphasis on local governance and consensus, were largely destroyed. The immediate aftermath of the conquest was a period of immense upheaval and suffering for the native English population. They lived under the rule of a foreign elite, speaking a foreign tongue and enforcing foreign laws. The scars of this conquest ran deep. William's successors would grapple with the complexities of this new kingdom. It was a realm neither fully Norman nor truly English, but a unique blend forged in the crucible of conquest. The Norman conquest fundamentally reshaped England, creating the foundations of the nation we recognize today.